Michael Penix Jr. put on the show versus the Oregon Ducks in Week 7 of college football. Why is he the perfect replacement for Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings? We'll tell you next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network. And guys, happy Monday, man. And thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out to y'all for being our everydayers. But I got to kick this thing over to my guy, my brother, my partner in crime, Mr. LSU, Keith Sanchez, who you can find on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keep talking to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, Senior Draft Analyst with the Draft Network, man, in 2019 National Champ with those LSU Tigers, man. But you know why we're here, right? Myself, Damian Parsons, we're here to bring you that championship-level content surrounding the NFL Draft 24/7, 365. We are where you come to your dynamic duo, man. College football, NFL football. We always say is what it starts with the draft, man. So this is your number one source for everything football, man. But DP, man, we have a hell of a slate, right? We're talking about college football Week 7 recap, but not just any recap, right? We like to mix it up a little bit over here on a Locked On NFL Draft podcast, but we talk about draft radar, right? Then we're going to talk about some stock up, stock down with these players, right, and their projections and who's trending up and who's trending down. And then you're going to see a guest appearance from Coach K, Coach DP, where we hand out the game ball with TB. Man, before we get that thing started, man, why don't you give them a shout out from our title sponsor?
This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Keith, Draft Radar, right? And which is basically, like I said, we, for those who haven't listened to it in a week, we switched the name from Draft Scenarios to Draft Radar, but it's the same thing, right? So when we look at draft, for me, when I looked at the Draft Radar and we talked about it, right, on Saturday, that Washington-Oregon game, a lot of big-time prospects, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But the guy I wanted to pull and talk about in Draft Radar is Rome Odunze, the star wide receiver for the Washington Huskies, a guy that Keith caught the game-winning touchdown in this high-powered shootout, kind of what we predicted it would be. Rome went for 8 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And when I say Draft Radar, what team should have him probably at the top of their Draft Radar? I think it should be the Baltimore Ravens, Keith. The Baltimore Ravens should have him high on the priority list, high on the Draft Radar. Now, so this is a team that's winning football games.
Are you done with Rashad Bateman? Because this appeared to be a Ravens team that revamped the wide receiver room. Are you not liking what you've seen so far? Or who's on the way out, right? We know it's not Zay Flowers, but are you saying Odell Beckham's on the way out? Who's on the way out?
Odell Beckham, he was brought in on that 1-year deal, so I don't even know if he's going to be brought back, right? Unless he has a really strong finish to the season. We did see some things on Sunday where he caught a slant and nearly took it to the house from inside their own territory. He looked like a little bit of old, New York Giants OBJ on that play. But yeah, Rashad Bateman is probably the guy where he was always a risky selection because he was hurt all the way back to college where he was never consistently healthy. And that was the case, has been the case for the Baltimore Ravens. Mm-hmm. And, Lamar threw an interception with targeting him where I think Lamar was expecting him on that stop route to break more so outside back towards the sideline, right? And shield himself or use his body to shield the DB from the ball. I don't know what Rashad Bateman was doing. He looked dead at the ball. The DB was behind him. He looked at the ball. DB said, I'll be the receiver. And he caught the interception. So it was just like, for me, they need that true X to Z type of receiver. And I think Rome Odunze brings that, right? He has the body control, the ability to play through contact, but the speed deep down the field, the ball tracking, strong hands. He makes some incredible catches. This is the type of guy, I think, you have Mark Andrews at tight end. You have Zay Flowers, big play, Devin Duvernay as well. I think you got to continue to, until you find the right mixture, you got to continue to put more pieces in this wide receiver room, right? It's just like, I think for them, it's like the offensive line, Keith, right? You want to get your best 5 on the field. You want to get your best 3 to 4 wide receivers and know that they're your best 3 to 4 wide receivers and not someone that you have to worry about. Well, is he going to miss 4 weeks because he's been hurt? So I think Rome Odunze should be one of the number 1 targets for the Baltimore Ravens.
I like it, DP, and especially once you kind of went through this Ravens, because I think the thing is this, that everybody thought that, hey, the Ravens receiver core should be good, right? But like we talked about entering the season, Rashad Bateman is a question mark and has been a question mark for a while, and we'll see how that thing just continues to unfold. But it seems like this Ravens offense, while they are winning, right, like the Ravens are one of the better teams in the AFC, but it seems like it's still a little sporadic, right, offensively, and trying to figure everything out.
Especially when your quarterback has gotten so much better as a passer. He's out there delivering dimes, and y'all are not catching it. You're not getting over. You gotta fix this. You gotta fix this if you're Eric DaCosta and that Baltimore Ravens front office.
Yeah, and I would say even for Rome Odunze, that performance, right, was one that he needed, because Malik Neighbors and Keon Coleman were taking off with the wide receiver 2 conversation. So Rome Odunze definitely needed. With DP, you talked about that game, right? You talked about Washington. You talked about the wide receiver. I'm going to talk about the quarterback, man. And what's on my draft radar? Minnesota Vikings. Go ahead, fire it up. Get it going. Do your deep dive on Michael Penix to the Minnesota Vikings. There you go. We already have the jersey swap loaded for you already, so you can see what Michael Penix is going to look like if you're watching on YouTube, man. But DP, I love this situation because you realize what we've seen that's worked, right, is putting quarterbacks in similar, or just players, period, put them in similar situations than what they've done in college, right? And what I'm saying is that Michael Penix has 2-3 wide receivers that he can go to in college, right? And just deliver the football, whether that's pushing the ball vertically or that's just giving him a chance with one-on-one footballs, right? And that beautiful, to go up against Oregon, right? That beautiful ball that he threw to Rome Odunze was the last touchdown of the game, right? That was just giving your guy a chance, right? And you know who the Minnesota Vikings have, DP? One guy that you give a lot of chances to, right? Justin Jefferson. You give him as many chances as you could. And watching Michael Penix, DP, is not, you know what I love? It's velocity on the football and it's accuracy, right? Like it's jumping off his hand where it has velocity, but it's very accurate, man. And I just love how the ball trajectory that he's throwing with ball placement, man. He's letting that thing rip. Now, I'm more than sure people are going to be extremely critical of the throwing motion, right? The throwing motion is different. Like we'll call it different, right? It's a different type of throwing motion, but he gets the job done. And I just think about, like you say, why the Vikings is not just Justin Jefferson, it's Jordan Addison, who's early on in his career, right? He, like the draft investment that you put in him is starting to pay off, right? And it's starting to be a tandem, and it's the tandem very similar to what he had in Washington. Then you look at the tight end position with TJ Hockenson, right? And I think going and get TJ Hockenson, letting him work the middle of the field, right? And I think it's a very similar situation. I don't want to say I trust the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, right? But I like some of the things he do, right? Like I don't think he's hurt Kirk Cousins, and I think Michael Penix has a strong arm, and you probably can do more things with Michael Penix. So for me, DP, I love that parent right there, putting Michael Penix to the Vikings. I think Michael Penix has earned it, right? He's proven it, and I think it's a situation that just makes sense for the Minnesota Vikings to move on at this moment.
No, 100%. And you'll be putting them in kind of that Sean McVay style offense, but they're willing to run, and they'll get in shotgun and different things like that. His ability to layer the ball. But I tweeted out, he throws some of the he has some of the best bucket throws in college football. Like just drops it in the bucket, just in the breadbasket, over the shoulder, right? If you're receiving, you stack your guy, you don't want to have to come back to the football. You want the ball out in front. All right, make it easy on me. I don't want to have to fight through contact, fight through and maybe get a DPI and stuff like that. So I like that fit a lot, Keith. Rome Odunze to Baltimore, Michael Penix to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, there we go. There we go with DP. Let's keep this thing going. Let's keep it flowing, man. Coming up next, we have Stock Up, Stock Down, man. Stay tuned for this segment right here because we're telling you the hottest football names in college football, right? These draft prospects who are elevated that no one's talking about right now, but I promise you they will be day 2 picks that have come out of nowhere. So get used to these names. Stay tuned for the next segment. Coming up next, Stock Up, Stock Down.
You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets for your next favorite and big event, right? But if you wait to the last moment, you will. Why? Because at the last moment, you're trying to avoid being scammed and dealing with scalpers. You're trying to find the best deals that fit your pocket, as well as competing with other buyers. But let me introduce you to Game Time. It is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. What do they offer? They offer last-minute tickets, flash deals, and zone deals. Their tickets are easy to find and buy for every kind of event in your area. And you're going to love the fact that for each seat in the venue, they have images, they have views. So you'll know what kind of vantage points you have if you purchase those tickets. If you're a big time college football fan, we have the Penn State Nittany Lions heading into Ohio Stadium to face off with the Ohio State Buckeyes this coming Saturday. You can get tickets on Game Time, on the Game Time app for $222. So guys, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, what you need to do is very simple. Why wait? Go do it. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Today's episode of Locked On NFL Drafts has been brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Guys, Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. They're quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and they have an enormous selection of players and stat types. And that's what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. This week on Prize Picks for NBA preseason, I'm taking the over on LaMelo Ball for the Charlotte Hornets versus the OKC Thunder for over 13.5 points. But I'm also going to take the over for Josh Giddey in the same matchup for over 10.5 points. So guys, listen to me and listen to me well, okay? Let me help you out here. What you need to do is go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. As always, guys, the stock market opens here on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast every Monday morning. And Keith, when there was a lot of players that played well, but I got to give a shout out to a Tar Heel, Keith. I mentioned him on Saturday morning. I said, listen, you know what I'm saying? You bursted on the scene week 1 versus the South Carolina Gamecocks. You were out there. That whole defensive line was balling, but I wanted to see he was getting pressure, but he wasn't completing those pressures to sacks. Well, Kamen Rucker did that this past Saturday, Keith. He had 2.5 sacks versus the University of Miami, man, and the U is not back. Keith, I said it a little too early this season. And I might not ever say it again until they're undefeated in the college football playoffs.
There we go.
Kamen Rucker, man, 6'2". Listen, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, Keith. You know what I'm saying? So 6'2", 265 for Kamen Rucker. He was just the power, the quickness off the ball. In an edge class that, Keith, you tell me if you agree, where it's not bona fide, like outside of Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, and Chris Braswell is really burst on the scene this season. Like, he's balling too. But there's a lot of, behind those guys, it's just a lot of smoke where you don't know who's going to come out of the tunnel. You don't know who's going to walk out of there. It's like, I'm edge 4 and 5. I'm edge 6 and 7, right? Right now, the rank edges 1 through 10 would be very difficult. In my opinion. So I want to give love to this young man. I think his stock is up. Like I said, he probably, I think he finished the game with like 3 hurries in pressures and everything. So he's got over 20 pressures. But like I said, to add 2.5 sacks to his already 3, so he's at 5.5 sacks on the season. Shout out to Kamen Rucker, man.
Yeah, DP, I think you explained that well, right? With the edge rush report is that, you could ask 5 different people who edge 1 is, and you might get 5 different answers, right? Between Latu, between Chop Robinson, between Dallas Turner, between Jared Verse, right? You're going to get a lot of different answers just with edge 1, so let alone edge 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I think highlighting guys like that are performing well, who knows, right? You could be talking about a potential back in the first round. We're talking about coming off a draft where everybody going to be like, okay, well, that's a stretch. No, it's not. You want to know why? Because Kansas City Chiefs, they drafted what? Kansas State edge rusher,
Right.
Felix Anudike-Uzomah in the back end of the first round, which no one was expecting. Right, it was a guy with a lot of potential, upside, fluid hips, everything else, sack production, but nobody really had him pegged as a for sure first round prospect. So that's why we do the stock up, stock down, so we can talk about these prospects and get the momentum going one way or the other. But DP, I think this guy that I'm going to mention, I feel like you watched I was about to say Anthony Marshall. You watched Anthony Richardson a lot last year, right? And this was Anthony Richardson, probably his number one target, DP, last year. And you've seen the potential there with this guy, right? But he finally converted the potential into actual production. And I'm going to talk about Florida wide receiver, right? I know we both talk about him like him, Ricky Pearsall. He had himself a day, DP, 10 receptions, 166 yards, and a touchdown, right? And that's what I was glad to see, was because when you watch the film, you see the glimpses, right? You're like, I think this guy can ball a little bit, right? But you don't have enough evidence, right, to kind of stand on it all the way, right? Like you're just going off of, like I talked about, potential, but to actually see him put it together, we're talking about stock up, man. Look, he clearly placed himself, as not only a draftable name, right? But I think he pushed himself and elevated himself, DP, into kind of that middle round range for now, right? Like now he still has the opportunity to move up, but he placed himself in the middle round names. Where I thought previous this, he was probably an afterthought for everybody. He was just, hey, yeah, who's that wide receiver that plays for Florida that catches a couple balls? Now it's like, oh, that's Ricky Pearsall, right? Like the guy that can change games. So I was excited to see him ball out, and it's kind of confirmation for me that, man, this is a true NFL draft prospect.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Tyler Boyd and Adam Thielen. You know what I'm saying? When you put him in the slot, you get to run a variety of routes with him. He's tough, gritty, strong-handed, for the most part as well, secure hands. Young man can ball, and he was unstoppable. The South Carolina didn't have an answer for him, and it was one of the bright spots for Billy Napier's passing offense, back-to-back seasons. Keep it rolling in terms of go ahead.
And that's coming off of the jump man catch, right? Like this. And so for those who don't know what we're talking about, this is the guy that had the ESPN number one catch, the jump man catch. So he's really starting to showcase his ability. And I agree with you. It's the toughness and the grit that I think is going to make this guy a productive NFL football player.
And in this wide receiver class, he may not be a second or third round pick, but he's probably going to be a steal in that fourth round for a team. Because, all these other big name and really talented prospects, he's somebody who's going to fly under the radar. Not for us here at the Locked On NFL Draft, but I expect him to slide down the draft boards because there's so many talented wide receivers in this class, and he's going to make somebody really happy. Keith, you don't want to talk about talent, man. Bucky Irving. You want to talk about a tone setter in this game, right? And we talked about this on Saturday. Washington, who surprised, I think, the entire world, especially myself, Dylan Johnson, their running back, had over 100 yards. They ran him well, all right, and they didn't rely all the way on the pass. But we knew that Oregon was willing to run the ball. Dan Lanning is an SEC head, former SEC coordinator and everything, trying to bring that physicality, that toughness, and that power to the Pac-12. Bucky Irving was he ran violent, he ran physical, he was tough, the contact balance was special. Like, he just did not want to go down if the first defender tried to bring him to the ground. He just was not feeling that idea, and he was fighting through arm tackles. You see the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, quickness. I compared him to Tajay Spears. I think he's this year's Tajay Spears. He's not going to have the type of speed and explosiveness that Tajay has, but this young man can really ball, Keith. I think his stock is up, especially in the running back class that is, in terms of production, lacking right now.
Yeah, I think this running back class, DP, is going to come down to kind of draft what you need stylistically, right? I don't know if it's going to be a lot of running backs that fit all schemes and, gap power and zone and stuff like that. It's going to be draft what you need, right? Like a lot of scheme specific backs in this class. And so I agree, like somebody like Bucky Irving, role specific guys, right? Like you're going to draft these guys with very specific, I guess, usage in mind for them to be successful. DP, and keep on going, right? We're talking about guys that had stock up, and DP, I'm going to continue to invest in this. We've talked about them already, and I'm going to continue to talk about them. South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Legette. I like him. I like him a lot. DP. I'm stock up, and I'm gonna continue to keep pounding the stock. But I believe he went for another 100-yard game this past weekend, DP, against Florida. And it's just when you watch the film, this guy is 6'3", 220, 230 pounds. He explosive. And like I said, he reminds me somewhere across between DK Metcalf and Deebo Samuel, right? Like, when you watch him, he's physically, he's on a different level. Like, you like, all right, that's different, right? From what I've seen. And I believe what DK Metcalf fell to the second round, right? Because some people are critical of certain things. I don't think they're going to make the same mistake with Xavier Legette. Spencer Rattler is getting him the football, right? So he's able to, catch the football, make some plays. But you're seeing a multitude of things. You're seeing a contested catch. For a big guy, DP, I think and I don't want to say he's a better route runner than DK Metcalf, but I don't have the question about his ability to get in and out of breaks like some people did for DK Metcalf, right? He has strong feet. He's able to adjust to the football. He can high point the football. So while I'm not drafting him as a one-trick pony or strictly a gadget guy, I'm drafting this guy thinking that he might be the real deal as a wide receiver, period. So that's why I wanted to go stock up on again.
No, I like that a lot, Keith, because that's my guy, the X-Man.
Yeah.
That's my dude. You know what I mean? He's been balling, and he just continues to put in work and continue to fly under the radar, but not here at the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. Keith, we talked about some good stuff. Now let's talk about a stock down person right now. Cam Ward. And this is a guy that a couple weeks ago he was in really good standing, but coming off back-to-back games against UCLA, he was 19 of 39, 197 yards passing, 49% completion, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Right now against Arizona, then they lost to UCLA 25-17. Against Arizona, that offense for Washington State mustered up 6 points. They got blown out of the water, 44-6. He was 22 of 30, 192 yards, 73% completion, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. So in the last 2 games, he has a 1-to-3 touchdown to interception ratio, where before that he hadn't thrown an interception at all, and he was 14 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, or 13 touchdowns, to 0 interceptions. He just he has not looked the same over the past 2 weeks, man. And you can't play like that. Getting into the really meat and potatoes of the college football season, it's not about how you start, man. It's about how you finish. And if you don't finish strong, your draft stock is going to continue to plummet.
DP, this is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate because he had a very similar situation last year where he started off well, right? Or he started off good. I'll say he started off good last year. And then right around the middle to the end of the season, things started to fold. And I don't want to see that happen again for him, because I think if he has that combined with his mechanics, and when I say his mechanics, right, we're describing somebody that does a lot of off-platform, off-schedule, different type, you know what I'm saying? Like it's very different in his approach. That combined with the lack of production, people are going to start tying that together to start saying like, hey, you as a quarterback prospect, you're a developmental guy, not a franchise guy, right? And you don't want to start the trend the developmental way more than the franchise way, because that's when you start to see your draft stock, like fall significantly. So I'm with you, DP. Like he has to play better. I just don't want to see this again, because he's an exact repeat of what happened last year. But we will see, right? It's a week-to-week situation, and we'll just keep it going, keep it flowing like that. But DP, like we said, just keep this thing going, man. And matter of fact, I said DP, I'm about to say Coach DP, Coach DP, Coach K. Yes, we are coming back. We are making appearances. We are jumping into that locker room to hand out game balls. So stay tuned.
These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. Guys, you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That is why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. Guys, LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Okay, listen, all you got to do is very easy. Create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs, add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. You will have simple tools at your disposal, like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skill set and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and or hire. It is why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That is linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Coach K. It's time to handle these game balls, man. And your one of your stock up guys was my game ball recipient, and that's Ricky Pearsall from the
like
University of Florida. You know what I'm saying? It happens. It happens from time to time. And guys, as the graphic shit, like Keith talked about it, 10 for 166 in the touchdown. But the reason why he gets my game ball, he won the game for Florida. Like, he scored the game-winning touchdown and left South Carolina with only 40 some odd seconds left in the game to try and go down and drive against their defense. And he said 10 for 166 in the touchdown. His ability to run the variety of routes to get open against man-to-man, find soft spots and zones. Like you talked about, we both think his stock should be up, and it is up. But also, this young man came through in the clutch. Graham Mertz has not been great for Florida, but he threw for over 400 yards in this game, and Ricky Pearsall is a big reason why he was able to have his success. So shout out to Ricky Pearsall. He gets the game ball of week 7. Keith, who gets your game ball this week?
Yeah, DP, my game ball, it goes to an entire side of the football, and that is Notre Dame's defense. Listen, because we have to understand the importance of this, right? Marcus Freeman was about to place himself squarely on the hot seat, right? He went from being that guy to being solely on the hot seat real quick, right? It had like a blowout to Louisville, a close win to Duke, a loss to Ohio State, right? And then you potentially lose 3 out of the last 4 games, which was everybody, I think, even half of the fans that filled the stadium in Notre Dame was like, you know what? USC is going to score 35 points. And I don't know if we're going to be able to score 30, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It may be a good game, maybe a decent game, but we're going to lose this game. But guess what? Notre Dame's defense showed up, DP, and I think they forced 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions by Caleb Williams, right? And they played complementary football in the sense of the fact of this. They gave the ball to the offense with a short field. The offense scored the points, and then you knew that USC's defense couldn't stop Notre Dame's offense, right? So they did their job. They turned that thing around and made sure that, you know what, we're going to take it out of our offense's hands to have to compete with Caleb Williams score for score, and we're going to stop Caleb Williams. So they had 3 interceptions, and this was the thing, DP. That was a turning point, I feel like, for just, Caleb Williams, part of his Heisman campaign, right? Like, because it just, it was just a tough loss, and everybody's watching, and you get 2 traditional programs like that, USC and Notre Dame, stuff like that. Potentially a turning point in that type of race for the Heisman, but also I think it was a turning point for Notre Dame. They needed that win so bad, and we picked them, right. I know I picked USC to win the game. I thought USC, I picked them to win, and for them to come in, and these guys like Xavier Watts, right, the safety for Notre Dame that made plays, defensive tackle Riley Mills that made plays, and I was like, you know what, when you stop an offense like that, and I think they stopped them to 199 yards passing, when you're able to do that, that's not a one-person effort, that's a collective effort. So that's why I wanted to give it to Notre Dame's entire defense.
And excuse me. I think to your point too, Keith, is that we sit there and think about what Caleb has done. He does a lot of video game-esque things, right? A lot of running around, like deep balls off of 1 foot. But like, they forced him in the pocket. It was remember the Pac-12 game, Pac-12 championship against Utah? Yeah. After, like, he did get banged up, on one of that long run he had early in that game. But Utah started cage rushing him. And instead of him navigating the pocket, right, shuffle left, shuffle right, step up, slide. If you're an edge rusher, your edge rusher's getting too far upfield, I'm going to slide up and then replace him. You displace yourself, I'm going to replace, find a throwing lane, and make a play. He wasn't doing those things. He was drifting back over and over and over again. And it's like, bro, you're out leveraging your tackles, right? And you know me, I was critical of Bryce Young for doing that. Bryce did it because he couldn't see. Caleb does it because that's just how he plays quarterback. So that kind of caught up to him. So, I'm with you. That defensive performance was special, man. Like, they were flying around, like, just making everything difficult, blanketing receivers, everything, man. So absolutely, shout out to that defense for Notre Dame, man, because they came ready to play, and like you said, they understood the assignment. Our offense is reeling right now. We got some injuries at wide receiver. We cannot expect Sam Hartman to just go and put up 42 to go 42 to 38 versus Caleb Williams. We got to make some plays. We got to play football too. We're draft prospects. We're highly recruited players as well. We got to do our jobs. And that defense, which is chock full of NFL talent on all 3 levels, they did their job.
Yeah, I think this is going to question how good is USC too, right? Like I think people are going to wonder, like, okay, that Utah game that's on the schedule, that if they play Oregon, I can't remember exactly who they played down the stretch, right? Oregon, Washington. When they play those teams, like, okay, what are we expecting to happen? So, man, we got a good conversation, a good narrative out of week 7. But DP, what we was able to do? We was able to convert that into great content for the Locked On NFL Draft podcast and our everydayers, man. Like always, man, we want to say shout out to you guys for tapping in with us, man. We want to thank y'all time and time again. Y'all help make this podcast, man. Y'all are why we do this podcast, to be able to talk to y'all, man. Me, myself, right? Keith Sanchez. You can find me on Twitter /X at The Talent Code. DP, Damian Parsons. You can find him at Twitter /X on DP at DP_NFL, man. Make sure y'all tap in with us each and every single day. Make sure y'all tweet at us because we like to tweet back. Any type of draft takes, draft analysis, draft questions you guys have, we are the dynamic duo that you come to.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Guys, especially on YouTube, go like, subscribe, hit the bell notification and everything. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day, Monday through Friday. Thank you for being our everydayers. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow. On tomorrow's show, we'll have game ball for the NFL. We got rookie report, seeing which rookies played well in week 6 of the NFL season, but also, what have we learned and how will it impact the NFL draft? We're going to talk about all that tomorrow. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.